Shabbat Shalom. It is wonderful seeing everyone this evening. Hinei matov uman naim shevet achim gam yachad. How good, how pleasant it is for all of us to be here together. Yananai, Yananai, ne matov. Yananai, Yananai, umanaim. Yananai, Yananai, Shabbat Achim. Shabbat Achim, gam yachad. So some of you maybe are hearing this for the first time. Some of you maybe haven't heard it in a while. So let's try that part again. Yananai, Yananai, ne matov. Yananai, Yananai, umanaim. Yananai, Yananai, Shabbat Achim. Shabbat Achim, gam yachad. Let's light up the world, oh brothers and sisters, together with peace and love. Bring light to the world, oh sisters and brothers, and sing Hinei matov. Starting to ring a bell. Let's try that English part again.
Okay.
Let's light up the world, oh brothers and sisters, together with peace and love. Bring light to the world, oh sisters and brothers, and sing Hinei matov. Yananai, Yananai, ne matov. Yananai, Yananai, umanaim. Yananai, Yananai, Shabbat Achim. Shabbat Achim, gam yachad. Let's light up the world, oh brothers and sisters, together with peace and love. Bring light to the world, oh sisters and brothers, and sing Hinei matov. Yananai, Yananai, ne matov. Yananai, Yananai, umanaim. Yananai, Yananai, Shabbat Achim. Shabbat Achim, gam yachad. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. That was lovely. Hinei matov. How lovely it is. How wonderful it is to be here at this very special place on this very special day because it's Shabbat. I'm happy to be here with all of you. And before our service begins, I have a couple of announcements. If you have cell phones or any other devices that make noise, this is the perfect time to make sure that they are switched off or at the very least set to silent. If there are I don't see any young children, like little ones out there right now, but if there is ever any reason that, first of all, they're always welcome. We hope to have those pleasant young voices filling every moment at the temple here. But if there is any reason during the service that you feel like you need to step out of the sanctuary, everything that is said in here can be heard from the grand foyer, the Schimber Grand Foyer where you came in. There will be a few times during the service where we ask you to rise. If it is difficult to physically stand, you can, as the Talmud tells us, rise in your heart while remaining seated. And finally, it is a wonderful pleasure to be joined again this month We've got Cantor Canizaro is back, and Rabbi Simon is back. It's great to have the team together. It's very nice to have our Gail as our pulpit guest. Gail Geegan, sorry, and to make announcements later on in the service. And it is also my honor to welcome up Rabbi Jean Eglinton. Did I say that right? Eglinton. And Stephen Snyder to help us lead the blessings of the candles and Kiddush. You can follow along with them beginning on page 121.
Before they start, Steve moved here earlier this year, in the year already, and Rabbi Eglinton was finishing her last year in Huntington, West Virginia, where she's just retired, although she'll still be going up occasionally. But we're delighted to have Rabbi Eglinton and Steve as a part of our community, and we'll be seeing a lot more of them and look forward to it. So Jean was a second-year student the year I was ordained, so we got to spend 1 year together in Cincinnati, and I have very fond memories and look forward to making new fond memories with you guys here in Tampa. So welcome.
Thank you, Rabbi. So we're on page 121.
O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives.
Bless all who enter the sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher yishanu mitzvotav, Hadik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Blessed are you, Adonai, God, sovereign of the universe, who fills us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the lights of Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Amen. We continue with our Kiddush on page 123.
Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who finding favor with us, sanctified us with mitzvot. In love and favor, you made the Holy Shabbat our heritage as a reminder of the work of creation. As first among our sacred days, it recalls the exodus from Egypt. You chose us and set us apart from the peoples. In love and favor, you have given us your Holy Shabbat as an inheritance. Praise to you, Adonai, who sanctifies Shabbat.
Praise to you, Adonai, God, sovereign of the universe, creator of the fruit of the vine. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'v'ratzon hinchila.
Now, you may have noticed, by the way, that we have the screens up for the evening. There will be a couple of prayers during the service that you can find the words up on the screens behind me, but for the most part, we will be in the book this evening. I am reading on page 125. Where has this week vanished? Is it lost forever? Will I ever recover anything from it? The joy of life, the unexpected victory, the realized hope, the task accomplished. Will I ever be able to banish the memory of pain, the sting of defeat, the heaviness of boredom? On this day, let me keep for a while what must drift away. On this day, let me be free of the burdens that must return. On this day, Shabbat, abide. Help me to withdraw for a while from the flight of time, contain the retreat of the hours and the days from the grasp of frantic life. Let me learn to pause, if only for this day. Let me find peace on this day. Let me enter into a quiet world on this day. On this day, Shabbat, abide. Page 144.
Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Ve'amad yivrach yirteh v'yamlich malchuteh. B'chayechon u'vyomechon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael. Bagala, bagala, u'vizman kariv v'imeru. Amen. Yeshve Rabba mevarach le'alam ulam ve'amaya yitbarach yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitraman v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shemei dekurishah
Berechu.
La'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiram be'alma v'imeru. Amen.
We continue with the Baruch Hu on page 146 and continuing through 151.
Please rise. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? La 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 la.
Page 151. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that give it form? Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Page 152 and 3.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod, Shem Kevod, Malchuto, Leolam, Leolam Vaed.
Please be seated.
We'll now continue with an interpretation of Ve'ahavta. You'll find the words on the screen. Love, only love with all your heart. Love, only love with all your soul. Listen to the wisdom inside and around you. You will remember as you're walking through the day. Make this world a better place. Children will learn, and the future will be love. Love, only love with all your heart. Love, only love with all your soul. Listen to the wisdom inside and around you. You will remember in your home and on your way. Make your life a voice of God. Be a sculptor for the holy. Be a doorway for love. Love, only love with all your heart. Love, only love with all your soul. Listen to the wisdom inside and around you. You will remember. You will remember. You will remember.
We read responsively on page 157, in the middle of the page. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth.
The high
The
heavens declare your glory.
May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way.
Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces.
Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God. keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed.
Let us
Continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. Page 158.
חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל.
I'm reading at the top of page 161. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Page 162. The people of Israel shall keep Shabbat, observing Shabbat throughout the ages as a covenant for all time. It is a sign for all time between me and the people of Israel. For in 6 days Adonai made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day God ceased from work and was refreshed.
Shomrei, Shomrei, Shabbat Bekorei, Oneg Shabbat, Yismechu v'malchutecha, Shomrei, 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 Shabbat Bekorei, Oneg Shabbat, Mekadeshei Shvi Shabbat, Kulam Shabbat, Yismechu v'malchutecha, Shomrei, 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 Shabbat Bekorei, Oneg Shabbat, Yismechu v'malchutecha, Shomrei, 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 Shabbat Bekorei, Oneg Shabbat.
We continue now with the tefillah, beginning on page 164 and continuing on even-numbered pages through 168. Please rise.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Ha'gibor Ha'nora, El Elyon, Koneh Chasadim Shavim, V'koneh Hakol, V'zocher Chasei Avot B'imahot, U'mevii Gerulah Livnei B'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Be'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh Hakol Atah V'Moshiach, Moharid Hatal, Mechalkel Chayim B'Chesed, Mechayeh Hakol B'Rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'Rofeh Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayeh Me'unato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Ba'al Gedurot, Unidro Melach, Melach Levit, Umachayeh, Umatziach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah le'hachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimecha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yahallelu Selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
Page 173. Please be seated. Disturb us, Adonai, ruffle us from our complacency, make us dissatisfied. Dissatisfied with the peace of ignorance, the quietude which arises from a shunning of the horror, the defeat, the bitterness, and the poverty, physical and spiritual, of humans. Shock us, Adonai, deny to us the false Shabbat which gives us delusions of satisfaction amid a world of war and hatred. Wake us, O God, and shake us from the sweet and sad poignancies rendered by half-forgotten melodies and rubric prayers of yesteryears. Make us know that the border of this sanctuary is not the border of living, and that the walls of your temples are not shelters from the winds of truth, justice, and reality. Disturb us, Adonai, and vex us. Let not your Shabbat be a day of torpor and slumber. Let it be a time to be stirred and spurred to action. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Shalom Rav is on page 178.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim
We pause for a moment now in our service to say a prayer of healing for all of those who are in need of healing, for all those who have family members in their time of healing. We ask that God be with them as well. We ask for God to watch over all of those still recovering from acts of violence and terrorism. We ask for God to watch over all of those members of our armed services and first responders, wherever they may be, and their families who miss them when they are away. The words of Mishaberach may be found on page 371, while we save this page to return to in a moment.
Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishaberach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
May refuah shlema, a complete healing of body and spirit, come to all those who are in need of healing as we say Amen. We continue now in silent prayer and meditation. You may use the words on pages 180 and 181 to guide your prayer, or the words written upon your own heart.
Ose shalom bimroma, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Ose shalom bimroma, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
The rabbis tell a story about a poor merchant. The merchant, according to this midrash, sold purple cloth and nothing more. This is a very specialized business. He stood on the street corner every day, all day, shouting, "Purple cloth for sale, purple cloth for sale." One day the king happened to be riding by in his caravan, and he heard the merchant shouting. And the king said to him, "What is it that you have for sale?" Perhaps mockingly. To which the man answered, "Nothing." The king was baffled and responded, "But I just heard you say purple cloth for sale. So why would you respond to me saying that you have nothing?" "Sire," he replied, "it's true that I have purple cloth to sell to other peasants, but to someone as great as you, the king, I have nothing to offer." The rabbis use this story as a parable, comparing the merchant to Moses. Now, as we think about the story of our exodus out of Egypt and our time in the wilderness and Moses' great leadership, it might be hard to think about Moses as a man who would say, "I have nothing to offer." But we have to remember where our story began. Way back at the beginning of the book of Exodus, 40 years before the events which we would read about in the book of Deuteronomy, the book that Jews around the world are beginning this Shabbat. Moses at this time was just being called by God through the burning bush to lead the Israelites out of slavery to freedom. Moses answered the call by saying, "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and free the Israelites?" God answered with the promise that God would be with Moses every step of the way. But Moses continued, "What if they don't believe me? What if they don't listen to me?" God answered that the miracles that God would perform through Moses' hand would prove that God was with him. But Moses continued with his concerns, saying, "Lo ish divarim anochi. I am not a man of words. I'm slow of speech and slow of tongue." To which God answered, "Who is it that gives man speech? Go, I will be with you as you speak. I will instruct you what to say." Moses continued to hesitate. So God said that Aaron, Moses' brother, would be the spokesman. And finally Moses agreed. He was not an ish devarim, a man of words, so he needed someone else to speak for him. But now we come to this week's Torah portion, 40 years later in our story, the first portion of the book of Deuteronomy, Devarim, beginning, Ele hadvarim asher diber Moshe. These are the words that Moses spoke to all of Israel. Not Vayedaber Adonai el Moshe lemor, as we hear so often, not God spoke to Moses, or God spoke to Moses who spoke to Aaron. It was Moses who spoke, and it was the words of Moses. Moses, a man who at one point said, "Lo ish divarim anochi," I am not a man of words, now has an entire book of the Bible with his own divarim, his own words. The rabbis teach that Moses, like the merchant, never felt that he didn't have the ability to speak. He knew he could speak, but he also knew he could speak to and who he had spoken to. And like the merchant, he felt that his words, in comparison to God's, had no value. And that's why, according to the rabbis, he resisted from taking the job that was given to him. Only after 40 years of leading the Israelites, of taking his words directly from God, did Moses feel that he had earned the right to use his own words in speaking to the people. In this way, from Moses, we learn humility. According to this midrash, Moses knew perhaps that he could do the job, but he wasn't sure that he was best for the job. He showed deference to God and deference to others whom God could potentially have chosen as a leader. Many believe that it is this humility that caused Moses to be chosen in the first place. But there's another way to read the transformation in Moses from the beginning of Exodus to the beginning of Deuteronomy. The rabbis in our midrash imply that Moses had the same capabilities at the beginning of the story as at the end, changing only his willingness to use them. This is powerful and meaningful, but it's also possible that Moses, in fact, did begin the story as an lo ish devarim, as a man who didn't know the right words to speak or didn't know how to use the words that were available to him. But over 40 years of experience, 40 years of gaining wisdom, he learned how to use his own intuition, how to use that wisdom. And he learned how to speak to the people with his own words, bringing us to the book of Deuteronomy, which serves as his final address to the people. Moses grew over time into an ish devarim, a man of words. While we celebrate humility and Moses' humility, that unwillingness to show one's purple cloth because of an assumed lack of value, can also at times keep important words from being spoken. If we have a message but wait for someone else to give it, that message may often be left unspoken. So how do we know? How do we know when to speak? When to let someone else speak? When to search for our words, and when to use the words that come easily to us. This midrash and the dichotomy between its two meanings is something I've been thinking about personally quite a bit during this past week. It started last Saturday afternoon, just after we had finished our Come As You Are Shabbat service, a morning that had begun Shabbat with yoga, continued with study, and then with prayer, a day on which I felt Shabbat peace in a way I hadn't felt in a long time, until I received that dreaded news alert on my phone. Multiple people killed in shooting at a Walmart in El Paso, officials say. As the news continued to come and we learned that the victims were targeted because they lived in an area highly populated with those of Mexican descent, the lump in my stomach grew. Then, 12 hours later, another alert on my phone. This time I would wake up to the news. Police in Dayton, Ohio say they're investigating an active shooter incident in the city's nightlife district. I'm tired of this, and I'm tired of speaking about this. I looked at my past sermons and bulletin articles and emails to the congregation. In the past 11 years, there have been 10 times that I've written something about a mass shooting, and now that number is 11. Fort Hood, Tucson, Aurora, Sandy Hook, Charleston, San Bernardino, Orlando, Las Vegas, Parkland, Pittsburgh, now El Paso and Dayton. And there were so many others, and sometimes I felt that my words would add value, and sometimes I didn't. Sometimes I wrote about what happened to the congregation because I felt I had to, even though I wasn't sure that I was adding anything of value. Sometimes I stayed quiet, even though I felt my words might add value, because I just didn't know what to say. That was how I felt this week. We hear the words thoughts and prayers taking a bad rap, and I understand why. Action is needed more than thoughts and prayers. We all know that something has to happen, even if we might disagree over the specifics. But thoughts and prayers aren't only for those who are directly affected. They're not just for the victims and their loved ones. Thoughts and prayers can also be for us, for our community, for our need for strength when we feel powerless. Our own prayers for words when we find ourselves speechless. This week I found myself needing those prayers. And I found strength in words that I wanted to share with you. They were the words of Rabbi Karen Kadar, senior rabbi of Congregation B'nai Yehoshua Beth Elohim in Deerfield, Illinois, who in addition to being a phenomenal rabbi is an extremely gifted poet, and her work is found throughout our Mishkan Tefillah prayer book. Rabbi Kadar shared a poem this week online that she had written after the tragic loss of her brother. This Shabbat is his 16th yahrzeit. But she felt that as she was going back personally to the words that she wrote 17 years ago after his passing, a time in which she had no words, but was able to find words through thoughts and prayer, that others who were feeling the same way after the tragic events of last weekend might find strength in her words as well. The poem is based on the 121st Psalm. Essa enai el heharim me'ayin yavo ezri. I lift up my eyes to the mountains. Where will my help come from? My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. And as I share these words with you, I'll have them on the screen behind me as well, so that those who are more visual can read as I read. I'm searching for words, for the words that describe, make sense, or at least comfort, words that summon me from the depths of my solitude. In the night there is darkness, restless attempts to sleep, twisting, turning into the shadows. As I seek a comfortable pose, I bring my knees to my chest, folding my dreams in half. Will the crease ever come out? And in the day there are silent attempts to find hope, twisting, turning toward the light, as I look for direction, a path, a way. It is not easy to find the way, and so I lift my eyes to the mountains. Heaven lays her head upon the mountaintop, and I begin to climb. What is the source of my help? I climb and gaze upon the vistas, more mountains, more horizons, never-ending moments where heaven meets earth, never-ending possibilities to meet the divine. Lift me, carry me, offer me courage. Help me understand life's sharpest paradox, that to live is tragic and wonderful, painful and awesome, dark and filled with light. I lift my eyes to the summit, and as I climb, I find my help in the turning and twisting it takes to ascend. I have found a path, and it is worn and charted by all those who are summoned from solitude. I take their lead. And I know that in the most essential way, I am being carried up the mountain. And even now, dear God, even now, I am not alone. On this Shabbat Devarim, the Shabbat of words, may we all have the wisdom to know when to speak and when to listen, when to share our own words, and when to look to our mountain to find wisdom, to find words. And perhaps may the words we find and the words we share provide strength and comfort in our own lives and the lives of those of our family and community. May we all find the inspiration when needed to be Anashim Devarim, people of words, changing the world in our own unique way, brought from silence to strength, power, and courage. Amen.
Good evening. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, I would like to welcome all of our members, newcomers, and guests to Congregation Shabbat Tzedek. We look forward to visiting with you during the Oneg Shabbat. Representatives of the board and past temple presidents are identifiable by our gold nameplates. At Congregation Shabbat Tzedek, we pride ourselves on offering a wonderful variety of programs. Upcoming events have been listed on the back of your Shabbat program. Thank you, Robert Applebaum, for ushering this evening. Our clergy and staff are eager to greet visitors who are looking to learn more about our congregation. So immediately following services, clergy and staff will move into the Oneg Shabbat and stand at a membership table, and we would love to have any visitors stop by. We encourage congregants to introduce yourselves to any guests you see at the table. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Gail. And we are a people who is taught that even as we mourn, we allow ourselves to celebrate. Tomorrow night, Jews around the world begin the observance of Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av, which is a day on which we commemorate the destruction of both temples and events throughout our people's history of oppression and destruction. Traditionally, it is a fast day and a day of mourning. But even traditionally, it's a day where that mourning takes a twist, and within that mourning is celebration of our existence and of our being here. And in the Reform movement, it's a day that we have looked at differently as we mourn the destruction of the loss of the temple, but we also don't pray for the rebuilding of the temple, as we heard about last week. And it's not a day on which there's normally fasting by most Reform Jews. So we're doing something, it's actually before Tisha B'Av, but tomorrow night we are having a community game night, not for Tisha B'Av, but I wanted to give that premise beforehand. And it really is a night where some are mourning destruction, where we celebrate the community that we have, coming together, putting our technology away for a little bit, and enjoying one another's company and celebrating that temple that we build here at Sharet Tzedek. So I know it's in the handout and mentioned, but I really hope that you all will join us tomorrow night to be with one another, to get to know new people. There is a free dinner before sunset, just in case anyone is fasting, because what is an event at Sharet Tzedek without a free meal? And I really, really do hope that you all will join us. Our service continues back in our prayer book on page 586, the bottom paragraph of page 586 before continuing in the middle of page 591. Let us rise. be seated. Page 595. There are stars up above, so far away we only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. On this Shabbat, we remember those who have recently been laid to rest, Morton Cooper and Muriel Rothbaum, even as we join with the wider world in remembering the victims from Dayton, El Paso, from the Garlic Festival in California, and all those who have lost their lives needlessly because of hatred and violence. We also remember those from our community whose yahrzeit, the anniversary of whose death, occurs at this time. Elizabeth R. Alden, John H. Alden, Adele Bass, Pasha Brodkin, Alan Denton, Ben Elstein, Lawrence Lipman Falk, Washington Falk, Arthur Federer, Fred Firestone, Seymour Fromer, Harriet Glasser, Milton Goldman, Erwin Hannapole, Rose Kaplan Harris, Henry Hausman, Pearl Hess, Marjorie Hodes, Constance E. Hoffman, Samuel Heimowitz, Walter H. Kessler, Samuel Lehrer, Ina Remland Lilling, Gertrude Lotman, Anna Massa, Raymond Medeiros, Gloria Mills, Rose Mackler Newman, Albert Quillen Perry, Saul L. Rachelson, Nathan Reif, Ferdinand Rosenau, Mary Miriam Saunders, Benjamin Savitsky, Morton Shep, Belle Shulak, Ben Shulak, Murray Siegel, Pearl Shack, Jean Smiles, Stanley Smith, Clarice Steinberg, Paul Sullivan, Zach Warren, and James Weber. Zichronam livracha, may their memory always be a blessing as we remember them along with all of our loved ones who are no longer with us, who, though unmentioned, are always in our hearts. We thank God for having shared their lives with us. As we turn to page 598, rise and join together in Kaddish Yatom, the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divra chirute v'amlich malchute, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon, u'v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lalmei almayim. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal. Shemei dekudesha barichu. Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shalama rabam min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved, as we say together, amen. Before our closing song, I said it's not Tisha B'Av game night because we didn't want to, but it really is a Tisha B'Av game night, and that's okay, right? It really is. It's saying that we, the game part sound, but it's sitting together as a community, sitting at the table together, being together, and celebrating our ability to be together. And what else should we be doing? So let's change the publicity, Donna. We're going to call it Tisha B'Av game night, okay? All right.
That'll be fun.
Our closing song is Ein Kelohenu, page 626. Ein Eloheinu, Ein Adonenu, Ein Kemalkeinu, Ein Kedoshienu, Mich Eloheinu, Mich Adonenu, Mich Kemalkeinu, Mich Kemoshienu, Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Emalkeinu, Nodel Moshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu. And now we invite all of our young people, anyone 18 and under, to come join us on the bima to lead us in the motzi. Everyone else come on around, put your hand on the challah, and we'll sing together. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. And as they each tear off and share the challah, I offer this final blessing. Adonai oz le'amo yitain, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. May God give strength unto this people at a time when we need it, blessing this and all peoples, with the ability to hear all the words around us and to find those that lead us to a world of peace. As we say together, Amen, Shabbat Shalom.